Sounds great.
All right, good deal. All right, let me just, that's doing its thing, Jennifer, as far as, I don't know what it's like. It's not going to do that. I'm going to default back. Okay. All right. So good morning to you and anyone else who might be listening in on the recording. So super stoked to be here and excited to be talking a little bit about the topic of getting promoted. And again, you can wait around and hang out and wait for other folks to tap you on the shoulder, or actually you can kind of take ownership of that. And so right now I'm specializing in working with folks that are really identified to be promoted, okay, or they're really interested in getting there, and their organizations are supporting that. And we look at about a 12-month window. And as I talk through some of the material today, I think it'll be clear on why maybe 6 to 12 months is probably the right time frame. But again, it just really depends on where you are, what level of skills, expertise, and experience you have, and things like that in regards to kind of the readiness factor. So we'll talk about that as we kind of move through the information today. But super stoked to have you with me. How I got here, just been over the last few years since COVID, actually doing some online, or excuse me, virtual based coaching, specifically coaching groups in the engineering sector, working in conjunction with, or I would say in addition to some very formal structured leadership training programs, and facilitating the small group coaching that goes with that. Most of those folks being high potentials and folks that are interested in promotion. And like I said, just kind of fell in love with that, and looking forward to doing a little bit more of that as far as the second half of my career. So if you don't know who I am, and you're just curious, you can check it out online or on LinkedIn, but I'll give you the real quick scoop. Started in HR probably about 30 years ago. Started my career in HR, in healthcare, jumped over into the retail sector working for Wegmans Food Markets, and went out on my own as an independent coaching consultant focused in the area of leadership training development. That was 25 years ago. And over the course of that period, I've worked multiple organizations across multiple industries, mostly here in the States, but I've had some international exposure as well. So at any rate now, at this point in my career, kind of shifting gears, like I said, and really focusing in on helping people land that next level job within their organization. So I will be talking to that topic today as we kind of navigate through here. A couple of things I like people to think a little bit about and kind of keep in mind. My experience related to this topic goes back to really HR position that I had, and I was stepping into a new role into management training development out of HR in one of my organizations. And I really had an opportunity to sit down with my director of HR at the time, and I really mapped out a plan. And in that plan, I was very precise in regards to kind of how much money did I want to make by when, and what that role might look like, and how we got there. And we had that particular career conversation. And by the end of that period, and it was really within probably 12 months, 18 months maybe, I was the top of tier as far as my pay grade was concerned, because I had that conversation with her. And she was really an advocate for me, put me in a position where I had an opportunity to ride and tour stores with the president of the company, the chief operating officer. And I may not have gotten that same exposure if we hadn't really took the time to put that plan together. So I just want to emphasize the importance of that in your next level kind of, quest, if you will. It's super, super important to kind of walk through these steps and engage and really empower people around you to kind of be helpful. And that's what I would just kind of toss out there is the more people you have out there, the more helpful they can be, the more that they know. And a piece of this process is getting them there. All right, so let's talk about kind of some of the materials. If you have reference materials, I put the link into the chat box here, and a G Drive link was sent out if you registered for the particular session, or if you need that, please reach out. But there is just a quick guide where you can take some notes on the Get Promoted on Your Schedule pieces and components that we'll be covering today. So you can take some notes there if you want to. I also put together a little quick career advancement checklist. So it's just some things to keep in mind and think a little bit about in regards to taking that next step. So walk down through that checklist. You'll see there's sprinkled in information in there related to some of the things we'll talk about today. And then lastly, a real basic personal advancement plan. But the pieces and parts that I work on with my coachees, we dive, of course, into a little bit deeper of a plan, a little bit more details. and of course integrate that into obviously your schedule and your calendar and things. But at least it gives you an idea of some of the pieces that are really important to kind of think about and get your head around in regards to kind of your own move. So one of the things I like to do is start with mindset. I think this really matters. Again, if we think it, I think we can do it. But this is kind of a litmus test, if you will. And what I'd like you to do is just think about or jot down, and if you write it down, even more power to you. How much money do you want to make in 18 months from now? What is that number? All right. And again, I have Jennifer on here live today, and I don't know who else might be listening in, but again, if you're willing, share that information, right? If you're sitting with someone, tell them, right? Jennifer, you want to type it in the text, you can, but what is that dollar amount? All right. And this is really an important litmus test, in my opinion, because most of us are totally uncomfortable with going ahead and communicating what that dollar amount is, right? So when people start talking about things, they're like, oh, how much money do you want to make? And it's like nobody else's business or whatever. However, that being said, it really empowers you if you can kind of get that out there and let people know. When I sit down and have a networking meeting with someone and we're having coffee, that's one of my questions. It's not because I'm trying to be nosy. I'm trying to get a feel for, have they thought about the salary range that they want to fall into? And that gives them and empowers them in regards to the aligning with the particular job and the research that they need to do to find out, are they even pursuing maybe the right role in the right industry at the right company or not, right? So if salary is important or overall compensation is important, it's getting a lot of clarity around that and then being able to speak to that with a lot of conviction. All right. So for me right now, the reason I'm transitioning my business at this point in my career is really about being able to expand kind of the revenue growth. And so I've been, probably a $250,000 consultant guy in regards to revenue is concerned over the course of my career, pretty consistently over the last 10 years. But I really wanted to double that. And so thinking of different ways that I could do that, and I could approach the business a lot of different ways, I decided to hire a coach that would help me kind of go after that particular goal and that particular revenue goal. So being comfortable, not only knowing what you want, but being comfortable conveying that and sharing that information and not being embarrassed or not having reservations is really a mindset thing. So again, get comfortable with that. Even if you just start with the people closest to you, start talking about that. And that's going to be really helpful when you sit down and you get to a place where people can help you networking wise, where you're looking at a position and you really want the dollar amount and you deserve it and you're valuable enough to have it. You should be able to convey it. And very, very important. Okay. How you're showing up also matters, right? So are you excited mindset wise around the role and the position? We'll talk about the power of emotion and driving some of these things. And we're going to do a couple of quick exercises here, at least thought exercises, to kind of reflect on this. And then being clear on the fears and reservations. And that's okay. Everybody has some fears. I was just having coffee with someone. They said that, they were going to be, it was actually one of my workouts, but at the gym. And, the lady said, hey, I just took a new position. I'm starting next week, but I'm so nervous, and I said, are you nervous? Are you excited? And they're kind of the same thing. But we talked a little bit about that, what reservations she had at making a switch in her career after 10 years, new organization, new people. So she was excited, but she definitely had some things that she had some reservations about. And, again, we talked a little bit about those. And I think the more we talk, the less it was necessarily something that was a fear or reservation. But we really transitioned, I think, her energy changed, right? And the conversation changed to being very positive, and I'm very excited about that new role. So totally okay to have some reservations and fears. Again, asking for the next level thing is not always comfortable for folks. Just know that that's totally okay. All right. And then we can kind of take it and run with it from there. So number 2, clarity. This is so, so important. I can't tell you how many times I sit with folks and, they're like, hey, Bob, can you chat with me? I want to talk to you a little bit about what I'm working on and doing. And I would say, sure, however I can help. And we sit down and I ask the question, well, what specific job do you want? What position, what job title? And there's this kind of silence, right? Or they might rattle off one thing, right? Hey, I want to be I want to pursue a director of HR position. I was like, great. If you know what that is, what else is it called at the types of companies that you want to work at? Because again, similar roles may have different titles in different organizations, especially based on size of the organization. A director of HR position in one particular company might have this level of responsibility in that particular title. It might look like something very different. It might not be a director level position, right? It might be a regional manager position that warrants the same salary and the same compensation that you're looking for without that necessarily that title. And is that okay, right? So being able to do that research, and these days that information is out there. Just go out and figure out again the position and title you're chasing, but also maybe some other titles. What other things or what other types of jobs are specific to my knowledge base that may be titled a little bit differently at certain organizations, depending on the size, depending on the company, the industry, right? All of those types of things. But know those things and be able to let me know so that I can be helpful to you. Okay. What's most important to you in regards to your promotion, right? And again, think about this in the context of, is it money? Is it benefits? Is it flexible scheduling? What am I trying to accomplish in regards to this next level move? All of those things matter in regards to your level of satisfaction and getting into that next level role. And then lastly, super, super important is you need to put a stake in the ground. Okay. What is the time frame? And again, I find people so, I would say resistant against making a commitment, right? To them, I'm going to pursue this job at this company and I'm going to get it in this time frame. But that is so empowering in regards to really tapping into your emotion and your drive in order to make that happen. All right. It builds in urgency. The reason I like 6 to 12 months is most of the time, especially if you're pursuing a higher level role in an organization or you're moving into a mid-level management role out of kind of a non-management role, there's this gap that really takes some time to fill, specific to knowledge, skills, and abilities, but especially experience. And some of those experiences may only show up on the radar, once or twice a year. So pending scheduling of you actually doing what you're supposed to be doing in your current role, as well as kind of filling in to be ready for that next level role, you have to allocate some time. Okay. So, but that being said, put a stake in the ground and it's going to kind of build in the urgency that you need to keep things moving forward. Okay. Number 3, this is really, really important, is start with why. So again, why do you want this promotion? All right. And sometimes people be like, Bob, that's so obvious. Is it? Is it obvious? Why I might want to get promoted. A lot of times it has to do with, career growth, career advancement. And I start talking a little bit about what does that mean? Okay, is that the dollars and cents associated with the career move? For some people, that's important. For others, it might be the influence in regards to the influence or impact that you can have in a particular organization, or an opportunity to make a bigger impact or be part of a community kind of engagement at certain levels within organizations. Again, beyond that, if it's money as an example, well, how come? What's the money going to enable you to do? All right. Is that going to be able to purchase my first house, a bigger home? Is that going to be a second home? Am I going to be able to travel and vacation more with my family? Is the promotion going to allow more flexibility and more time off? So I can spend that time, with my kids. Is my promotion going to allow me access to people and to perks, box seats at football games? Now, this might seem a little silly, but if you start talking about those things are what's going to excite you. Those things are the things that are going to really make the emotional switch flip, right? And that is what's going to drive you to being successful at doing whatever you need to do to prepare for and land that particular promotion. Okay. So super important to be thinking about those things in as much detail as you can, jotting those down and being able to talk with folks about it that really are excited with you. Okay. So important. So just some things that are keep in mind that why, really important driver. All right. And then, the other component here is, as I mentioned, who will be impacted. So again, keep in mind that folks are going to be impacted by your promotion. Is it going to empower you to be a great leader, and impact more individuals and more customers, through your leadership capacity than you could by working individually, with particular customers or with only a few employees? How's your family going to be impacted by your career promotion? Again, does that make a difference? How's the community going to be impacted? Okay, people in the community, if you really value your community component and your ability to volunteer, how's that going to be impacted by this promotion? So if you can tie some of these things together and establish, I would even say a capital W, capital Y, H, capital Y, a big Y around this, that's going to be the energy you need to keep the ball rolling when things get tough. And I tell all my people it's going to require 5 to 10 hours more per week, whatever you expect on average, to get ready for that next level role. All right. So that level of commitment needs that level of discipline, drive, all those types of things. And that really comes from this number 3, a very, very strong why. All right. Number 4, it's not who you know, as we know, or excuse me, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And I've been talking a little bit about this as we covered kind of 1 through 3. But if you were to honestly score the strength of your professional network, how would you score that? Okay, and 2 different frames of reference here is 1, maybe my professional network in general, and then 2, my professional network as it relates to helping me advance my role. Okay, land that next level position, move into that new career role, whatever that is. Okay, and then the second question is, what's the strength of your personal network? And I think this is the number one thing that people forget about, is if I don't have all of my kind of ducks in a row, if you will, on a personal basis, it makes the professional component very, very hard. All right, if I don't have good, solid, good solid foundation I'm working from a professional basis, it may make the personal side very, very hard, right? So I always see life as kind of intertwined and overlapping and all of those types of things. But it's really important to understand your professional network as far as, if it's financial, if it's spiritual, if it's communal, whatever those types of things are in regards to your particular personal network. Again, is that where it needs to be to support your career move and to support everything that goes with that? Okay. And lastly, probably as important as anything else, is who needs to go away. Now, again, I'm not going to say that, if we have family members that we're not going to love those people anymore. I don't mean that. But you do have a choice in regards to where you're spending your time with who. And you may find that at least in the next 6 to 12 months, you really have to pick and choose and reprioritize where your time's being spent with what types of people that are going to be supportive and that you can leverage in order to kind of land that next level role and be hyper successful at it. Okay, everybody can land the next level role and then struggle for 3 to 6 months. And that's usually what the research says. It takes anywhere from 3 months to 12 months to really get up to speed and excelling and doing great work and having your team fully engaged with you at that next level position, right? But if you want to expedite that, these are all the things that we need to make sure that happen. Okay, so be clear on who do I need to spend less time with. Also, I always say spend time with people that bring you joy and that are supportive. There's enough naysayers out there that tell you can't do things and why you can't do them. And maybe they're right? But I don't need that energy, not as part of my as part of my initiative and what I'm working on and what I'm doing. So I'm going to minimize my time with those people, maximize my time with the people that are supportive and there to help me out. Okay, so just give that some serious thought. And like I said, for most of us, we can reprioritize some of the time we're spending on the people that we're spending that time with. Number 5, I mentioned this a little bit as we've talked this morning so far. And again, this is knowledge, skills, and abilities, right? The kind of KSAs. So again, doing a very solid gap analysis. Where are you at with the knowledge and the skills and your ability to perform in your current role? You have to be awesome. Okay, before you're advancing in most cases, especially into leadership and higher level roles or into kind of senior leadership team, if you will, you have to be awesome at what you're doing. Okay, so any of the blanks that need to be filled in, knowledge, skills, abilities wise, as far as your current role, take care of those. Then we need to be very, very clear on what are those knowledge, skills, and abilities we need in the role that we're pursuing. Okay, we can get that information by going out and doing some research on those types of roles. We can grab the job descriptions or those types of things associated with the role within our current organization, if it's something that we're looking into. If we want our boss's job, our boss is either retiring or our company is growing and there's a similar position that's going to open up at our boss's level, I can go and interview my boss, right? And really be clear on that. I might interview my boss's boss. So as I work with folks in my coaching process, these are the things that we make happen, and the information that we can kind of gather up and be clear on, and then build into an actionable plan that involves filling in the knowledge, skills, and ability gaps over the course of the 12 months. Okay. The second A there stands for your attitude. And again, I'm not going to say that I have to preach to this very much. Most of the folks I work with, like I said, are very high potential individuals that just have a tremendous amount of drive and very positive attitudes. But just keep in mind, this is important. So the perception of your attitude in regards to your constituents in your current role, the senior leadership team, right? How do they see you? Do they see you as, optimistic, as someone who's very results oriented, as someone who's very, driven, as someone who's willing to kind of support and collaborate and all of those types of things? So what are the attitudes that are really going to position you as the only choice if you're being interviewed and multiple folks are being considered for that next level role? But think of that very proactively, right? And again, people may be introverted, extroverted, I don't care, but the perception of people and your attitude matters. And this is what we have to kind of keep in mind. So we may have to shift our behaviors a little bit. We may have to kind of, just be more aware from an individual basis, situationally, how we're showing up. And that can be very powerful as well. Okay. And then the second E there is the experience factor. And I think the key here is that's your multiplier, right? The experience is key. So have you gotten all of the experience that you need in regards to your current role and being as good, as solid in that role as you can be? And then what's the experience gap between the key experiences you need to get in order to be highly effective in that next level role? So as we transition, again, we want to shrink the learning curve. There's always going to be, that 10, 15, even 20% learning curve after you get into the role, of course. But we want 80% of whatever you need to have experienced to experience, and make sure that's on your plan when you step in and transition into that role. This does a lot of things for you. One, is you're going to have the confidence and capability. Two, if you're doing this within your current organization, the leadership team, your boss, the boss's boss, the people around you, your team members will know what you've been working on and why you're working on it, and the things that you've been exposed to. So they're going to be more confident in you stepping into those roles as well. Okay. And then the multiplier there, as you heard me mention a couple of times, is really the emotion. Right. So what are our emotional drivers? Circling back to those whys, what's driving us, right? To making sure that we're staying positive and that there's this emotional pull forward that we're legitimately excited about, and all kinds of happy emotions that we're thinking about in regards to advancing into that next role. Okay. That's the energy factor. And again, I think super important to making it where we're going to be committed to achieving kind of the rest of the formula here. Okay. So that's number 5, experience wins. And again, you can be the smartest person in the world, but if you haven't walked through, all right, and put those shoes on and walk through those experiences needed, you're going to fall short. And that's going to be something that, again, the organization has to determine, are we going to put this person in a role without that experience, or are we going to find someone with it? You want to be that person that already has it. Okay. Super, super important. All right. So again, get yourself excited. I always say, take a second, just think about yourself in the new role. What do you look like? What are you doing? How does it feel if you're going to work, or when you're logging on in the morning, you're in this particular new role? What's your day look like? How's it different from your day today? How's this role change in regards to how you're showing up at work, how you're showing up in life? What are the impacts on a personal and professional basis? Those are the things that are going to be super important in regards to mindset and that emotional factor that really makes a difference. Okay. And Jennifer, I see you posted your dollar figure. Good for you. So I expect to get a call in the next few months here that you're happily employed at where your goal is. So all I can mention is this. I mentioned that my coaching program is designed specifically for this advancement approach. Okay, in the course of 12 months, making sure that we're doing all the things necessary to position you in your current organization to step into that new role. If you happen to be looking outside the organization or making a career shift, all of these things still apply. All right. So I just think a little bit about if you haven't worked with a coach before or a person, and whether you hire someone or you have someone that you can kind of peer-based coaching that works too. But it's really important to work through these things. And again, without that support, it might be a little bit harder. So coach can help you in all these mind shift things, keeping you honest, that level of accountability, digging into the details in regards to solidifying your goals. More importantly, the specific actions, inventory, and the skills, knowledge, experience, making sure that shows up on your calendar, and be willing to kind of debrief that process, the learning process, how you're leveraging that, making sure also that the communication is good. So who needs to know what you're working on, what you're looking for, what you're doing, and about your progress, right? Very, very important, especially if you're positioning yourself as the ideal client for that internal move, if you will, within your own organization. All right. Lots of reasons. I'm a huge advocate for companies creating a promote from within culture, but it's still, the emphasis falls back on the individuals that want to get promoted. All right. So again, if you need help, support, any additional support, you can let me know. We can kind of book a call, set up time to chat a little bit. If your organization supports high potentials and some coaches to support their success, preparing for roles, or if you get into a role and it's a transitional period, those types of things, that might be something to think about as well. And I'd welcome an opportunity to chat with you. All right. Do you have any questions? Jennifer, I know you're on live, so I'll just start with you. And if not, then I will move to stopping the recording, and then I will go from there. So any questions at all, Jennifer, I can answer for you?
Not right now, thanks.
All right, so let me do this. I'm going to stop the recording.